On a clear summer day in 2005, a passenger jet over Greece just went silent. For almost 3 hours, it flew perfectly on autopilot, completely unresponsive. It became a ghost plane in the sky. This is the incredible and incredibly tragic story of Helios Airways Flight 522.
I mean, really think about that for a second. You have this massive Boeing 737 cruising along as if nothing is wrong. But there's just nothing, no communication. Inside, 121 souls. But from the outside, it was a ghost ship.
Well, with the memory of 9/11 still fresh, you can bet the authorities weren't taking any chances. Was it a hijacking? Terrorism? The Hellenic Air Force scrambled 2 F-16 fighter jets to go find out exactly what was going on up there.
Okay, so what those fighter pilots saw, it's the stuff of nightmares. They pull up alongside this massive airliner, peer into the cockpit, and the captain's seat is empty. The co-pilot is slumped over the controls, completely unconscious. And in the main cabin, everyone was just motionless, with oxygen masks dangling uselessly over their faces. It was a flying tomb.
Just when you think this story can't get any more bizarre, it does. The F-16 pilots are watching this horrifying scene, and suddenly they see movement. A lone figure stumbles into the cockpit and actually starts trying to fly the plane. Who on earth was this person, and what could they possibly do now?
So the F-16s can do nothing but watch. This ghost plane is just silently circling in a holding pattern over Athens, burning fuel, with no one at the controls. How did it come to this? They radioed back the chilling details. Co-pilot down, captain gone, passengers like statues with their masks on, showing no sign of life. The plane was totally on its own, a ticking clock in the sky.
And this timeline just makes it even stranger. You see a totally normal takeoff at 9:07 a.m. The plane climbs to its cruise altitude, and then radio silence. For over an hour, it just circles Athens before that mystery figure appears, literally minutes before the final crash. To understand how this happened, we have to go all the way back to the beginning.
All right, so let's rewind. It's the morning of August 14th, 2005, at Larnaca International Airport in Cyprus. And it's a picture-perfect day. Blue skies, calm winds, just an ideal day for a flight. Flight 522 was just a standard holiday flight. You know the kind, filled with families, kids, everyone excited to get their vacation started in Athens and Prague. Absolutely nothing seemed out of the ordinary.
I mean, look at the details. Experienced crew, beautiful weather. The plane takes off right on time and heads up into that clear blue sky. For every single one of those 121 people on board, it was just the start of a holiday. They had absolutely no idea it was a one-way trip.
So where did it all go so horribly wrong? Well, the first link in this tragic chain was actually forged the night before the flight during a routine maintenance check. A tiny error was made that would set an invisible killer loose on that plane. An engineer was checking on a door seal issue, and to do that, he had to perform a cabin pressure test. This meant flipping the pressurization switch from auto to manual. And here's the fatal mistake. He forgot to switch it back.
It was a devastating domino effect. It starts with that one tiny maintenance error. Then, that error is somehow missed during the pilot's pre-flight checks. Then, a critical alarm goes off, but it's tragically misinterpreted. And all of that leads to the crew slowly and silently becoming incapacitated. And this right here is the fatal design flaw that sealed their fate. The alarm for dangerously low cabin oxygen sounded exactly the same as the alarm for a takeoff configuration problem. So the pilots hear this horn blaring, something that should only happen on the ground, and they just assume it's a glitch. They had no idea the real danger was the very air they were breathing slowly disappearing. And that confusion was a classic symptom of hypoxia, the silent killer. As the oxygen thinned out, the pilots' brains were essentially being starved. Their ability to think clearly just evaporated. They became confused, disoriented, some reports even say euphoric, before they finally lost consciousness. The captain even got up from his seat to check a circuit breaker panel in the back of the cockpit and collapsed before he ever made it back. Okay, so let's jump back to those F-16s circling this silent jet. They've seen the horrifying scene inside. And then, at 11:49 a.m., that mysterious figure appears in the cockpit. So who was it? It wasn't a hijacker. It was a 25-year-old flight attendant named Andreas Protomou. He had somehow managed to stay conscious by using the portable oxygen bottles from the cabin. He was just 25 years old. In the middle of this absolute catastrophe, with everyone else unconscious or worse, Andreas was the only one left fighting. And here's the incredible part. Andreas actually held a commercial pilot's license. But he had zero training on a huge airliner like a Boeing 737. It didn't matter. He got into that cockpit, sat in the captain's empty seat, and tried to do the impossible. He tried to fly the plane.
The cockpit voice recorder later revealed his final, heartbreaking efforts. He somehow managed to grab the radio and whisper, "Mayday, Mayday." His voice was faint, he was gasping for air, but because the radio was still tuned to the departure frequency from Larnaca, not Athens, his desperate call for help went out into the void. Nobody on the ground ever heard it.
Andreas fought to the very, very end, but after nearly 3 hours flying on autopilot, the plane was out of fuel. First, the left engine flamed out, causing the jet to bank sharply. The F-16 pilots watched as he wrestled with the controls, trying to level it out. But just 10 minutes later, the right engine went silent too. The 737 was now just a massive, powerless glider. It plunged out of the sky and crashed into the hills near a town called Grammatico. The investigation began immediately, with teams searching the wreckage for the 2 black boxes that held all the answers.
And those black boxes told the whole story. The cockpit voice recorder had everything. The pilot's initial confusion over the alarm, their slow descent into hypoxia, and Andreas' heroic final moments. And the flight data recorder? It provided the smoking gun. The pressurization switch was in the manual position from takeoff to impact. The mystery was solved.
In the aftermath, the entire aviation world was just stunned. It became terrifyingly clear that this wasn't one single failure, but a chain of human errors and critical design flaws that led to the deaths of 121 people. Things had to change.
And the legacy of Flight 522 did lead to real, tangible changes. Boeing had to redesign its alarm system so a critical pressurization warning could never again be mistaken for a minor takeoff issue. Airlines all over the world made their pre-flight checklists more detailed, more robust, to make sure a mistake like that pressurization switch could never be missed again. And as for Helios Airways, well, they went out of business less than a year later.
When you boil it all down, it's just so devastatingly simple. A single switch left in the wrong position. A confusing sound, fatally misinterpreted. And because of those 2 things, 121 people never made it home.
And yet, amidst all that tragedy, we have the unforgettable story of Andreas Prodomo, a young man who, when faced with a situation that was completely hopeless, fought with his very last breath to try and save the 120 other people on that plane.
The story of Helios 522 is a chilling reminder that in the world of aviation, even the smallest errors can have the biggest consequences. It really leaves you with a sobering question. Is progress in air safety always written in the wreckage of yesterday's disasters? And how many lessons have to be learned the hard way?